As promised, we are at a pull apart. What's the name of this place, Bo?
Maybe it's Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Here, check this out. Bo likes this. Hey, Dad, why is there a Jurassic Park fan here? That is a good question. And I told him, we're at a pull apart. You never know what you're gonna find. We might find some snakes, spiders, bees nests. You know, that's the fun part about summertime. We picked the worst time to come too. It rained like crazy yesterday, so it's gonna be a muddy mess. But this is what we're gonna do.
It rained yesterday?
Yeah, it poured, remember? That thunderstorm? There's a tons of rain. Anyway, it doesn't really matter where we are. We're at about 50 minutes from my house. And I wish I had one as nice as Eric the car guy showed on his video. They had this whole inventory thing. It was really cool. But anyway, let's go see if we can find a Jeep. Yeah, this is what our pull aparts look like here. And I was gonna say Pittsburgh. We're not near Pittsburgh. We're about maybe an hour and a half south of Pittsburgh. I gotta find a Jeep in this mess. So I'm kind of pissed right now, guys. They would not let me bring my son down here, so the poor kid's gotta sit in the truck. We drove an hour to get here. I don't know how long I'm gonna have you guys with me here and taking this stuff apart. I wanted to film it, but I can't leave my son in my vehicle that long. Look at this place. They're like, walk over by that tree and down in that area. There should be some Jeeps over there. Yeah. Well, this is bull crap, man. I can't find any Jeeps in this place, and I'm pressured now because my son's in my truck. I'm really pissed off right now, man. This is ridiculous. There's like no organization to this place at all. Look at this. Look how big this yard is. Can you guys see that? I don't think it really shows it. This is crazy. Well, I found the Jeeps. Out of breath because I'm hustling trying to find this place. There's a compressor that'll fit mine, but check it out. It's got the same problem. A broken piece on the clutch. That sucks. But here's my Jeep section, so I gotta do a quick scan through here, see what I can find. Yeah, I'm not happy right now. Well, I did find at least the power steering bracket that I need, so I'm gonna take that guy. So we're done, and big thanks to my son Bo here for sitting in the truck, man. That sucked. And what else sucked was I couldn't bring you guys really with me as far as doing the removal stuff. So this will be part of the part 2 video of the AC repair. I did find a compressor. I showed you guys the one that with the crack on it, and I got it for $10. So you can't beat that. That's the cool part. I spent $26 for an AC bracket, AC pump, I'm sorry, power steering bracket, power steering pump, and then the compressor. There's a $6 core charge. I just really wish I could have had Bo with me because we would have taken our time, filmed it, and found some other cool parts, huh, buddy? Mm-hmm. Bo's eating beef jerky right now. Some Wild Bill's beef jerky. So look at the camera. Don't be rude. Say see you later.
See you later.
All right. Well, it's been a few days since I got back from the pick apart, and I pulled everything off of the Jeep. I did not film that part for you guys. I apologize. It ended up being a lot bigger of a job than I had hoped for. Let me show you where I'm at. So you see I have the rad and the AC condenser on the ground. The whole front of this Jeep pulled apart. It wasn't too bad. Pulled the compressor off. I already replaced this bracket for the power steering. And this was a really important bracket because on this one there's no tensioner. This is your tensioner. You move the power steering pulley to tension the serpentine belt. So really important piece. That trip was worth it to the pick apart just to get this piece right here. I ended up paying $10 for the whole pump assembly. But I swapped mine over. I didn't want to mess with the lines but I have an extra pump. And let's see what else. To get this line off, these lines off of this AC condenser, I actually had to use MAP gas, and unfortunately the threads got damaged on this, and I'm hoping that there's still enough thread left over that the new line will grab it. Fortunately, it doesn't seal on the threads, it seals on the inside with an O-ring, but we'll see. I might end up needing a condenser for this. And I'll be honest with you guys, if it wasn't for the video at this point and finishing this, I wouldn't be putting the money in this. I was trying to get by with an inexpensive repair. Remember again, what my plans are for this Jeep is just to flat tow it behind the RV, and I really didn't want to spend a lot of money, and so I was looking for parts. I did find some AC lines, the suction and discharge lines from Amazon. I was real excited about that because they were a fraction of the cost I could find anywhere else. But beware of what you buy. I'll show you this line. I have to send it back. It looks like the high pressure liquid line is okay, but the discharge line is not. I think I ended up paying like $18 for the liquid line, which was cool, and the discharge line was like 25 or 30 with shipping. Long story short, I got to send that one back. I just went to local Advanced Auto by me, and I was able to get the discharge line for about $46. So it was more than I wanted to spend. Again, trying to keep this low cost. If you're in the field, this is a pretty expensive repair. Pulling all of this stuff off this Jeep was not anticipated. And then the other thing that I'm not doing, which you really should, is to replace the dryer. So the dryer on this one is right here, and as long as this thing's been open to the atmosphere, and not by me with taking the line off, but with the hole that was in the line, there is a moisture desiccant bag in here that, or not a bag, but desiccant in here that absorbs moisture that really, when they're open to the atmosphere, as long as this has been, it really needs to be replaced. But I am not doing it. I'm not overly concerned about this vehicle. I've done many AC repairs and not done the dryer and have been fine, but it is a recommended item. You know, if you were doing this in the field, you're doing the suction discharge lines, you're doing, I called it a liquid line, didn't I? Is it heavy? Yeah. Looks like I might have just got my vacuum pump.
Would
Nice.
that be heavy?
Yeah, put that on the ground. It's, want to be on video, Mrs. ScannerDanner?
I don't. I'm just delivering the
You're super hot though. I'm going to film you walking away.
No.
Anyway, if I'm in the field, it's getting a compressor. Again, because of mileage, it wasn't worth doing just the clutch alone. Probably not going to try to save this AC condenser. And then it needs the suction discharge lines. I keep mislabeling my lines. You know what? We'll have to do a video together on refrigerant lines and systems and components. I'm sorry. The line that I need was the discharge line from the compressor. Yeah, that's your suction line. This is your suction line. The discharge line is the one I'm changing. That goes from the compressor to the condenser, and then the liquid line would be from the condenser to this receiver dryer. This is a receiver dryer, not an accumulator dryer, and that's always on the high side of a system, and that tells me that I have a thermal expansion valve, not an orifice tube. Again, we'll do more videos that deal with this. So there's your expansion valve back there. But I'm not going to show the repairs of me putting all this back together. Maybe I will. It'll just be too long of a video. I'll throw all the parts back on, and then what we'll do is we'll finish our leak tests with air pressure, and I'll show you the compressor tests we can use, and then we'll wrap it up with pulling the system under a vacuum and recharging it, and then we'll talk about oil and how much oil to put in and what you want to be careful of with that. Well, perfect timing for this. This literally just got here. Got it from the UPS from my friends at JB Tools again. where I got the manifold gauge set. I needed to have a pump. If I'm doing home repairs on AC systems, you need to have a vacuum pump. And what I did is I picked the one on their site that was the least expensive. And I think this one actually goes for maybe just over $100. So I mean, you can spend $500–600 on a vacuum pump. I don't know anything about the tool, but I don't plan on doing a ton of work here at the house. I will be doing some more air conditioning work, and we'll be using the pump, and so you guys will be able to see how this thing does over time. But I really felt like the kit, there's actually a kit this comes with too, that comes with a gauge set. So you can get a pump and a manifold gauge set for like $134, and that's pretty sweet. That's less than you'd pay for a manifold gauge set. But let's just do a quick unboxing of this. Vacuum pump operating instructions and specs. It does come with oil, so it looks like I'm going to be putting oil in this. Yeah, vacuum pump is shipped without oil. Do not operate until oil is added. Okay, go back to that. Oil. Pump. I'll be honest with you guys, what I had originally planned on doing is, nothing at the bottom of that. I originally planned on not pulling the system under a vacuum, but I really felt like if I'm going to be teaching air conditioning work, I need to show you the proper way of doing this. And the proper way of doing this when you have a system that's open is you have to pull it into a vacuum. But that's good. Anything else we got to worry about? Let's see. Setup. Use only FJC vacuum pump oil or equivalent. So, does it say it on this thing for later? Yes. FJC air conditioning products. Just thinking for later. You know, a year or two from now, when I want to change this oil level. Well, I better save this stuff. Gino, you can't be in the picture. It's my killer cat. Alright, setup instructions. Operate vacuum pump for a short period of time. Vapor from exhaust port is normal during operation. This is the result of moisture in the AC system and humidity in the shop. Check oil level through sight glass. Vacuum pump will become hot during operation. Got it. Okay, what is this plug here? I don't know. Oil fill cap. It's funny. It says oil. See, it's the top of this cap, right? It says oil, right? Did I just put this in the wrong spot? It did go down in there. This is your fill plug. On this, that's why I should pay attention. I don't think it matters, but the red cap is your oil fill, and the black cap is saying that that's your exhaust port. But I didn't read that because on the top of the cap it says oil. Is that pointing to the red cap? Well, fortunately, based on the sight glass, the oil did go in the correct location. Sorry about that. That fittings. Let's plug this bad boy in and get a sound out of it. See how she does. Open up one of these. This would be for R134A fittings or R12 or R22 for that matter. R22 and R12 are the same. Cool. Let's put our vacuum gauges or our manifold gauges on this, see what kind of vacuum we can pull directly from the gauges themselves. We should be able to do that. Is there check valves in the gauges? I may have to hook it up to the car. Anyway, you guys will see this in operation here when our repairs are done. Quick look at these lines. Again, getting what you paid for. This is the liquid line. It came from Amazon. I paid 18 bucks for that. So we'll see how it does. I don't know who makes it. UAC, Universal Air Conditioning. And you can see that that was pretty good as far as being the correct line. See, the shape of that is pretty much exact. I am missing these brackets. Will I be able to reuse it? I'll try. And then let me show you this discharge line. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is the line I got from Advance Auto. It's the exact shape. Looks like the metal tube is a little bit longer here, but it is the same routing. It's exactly what I need. And of course, gotta have the low side fitting, right? Look at this one. Look at this piece of crap I got from Amazon. That's supposedly for this Jeep. I'm not going to take it out of the bag. Let's look at the routing. So fairly close on that end. Probably could bend the line and make it fit. Look at this end. It doesn't even have a low pressure Schrader valve in it, and the angle is wrong going to the compressor. Now you could probably move the line and bend it, you know, it's on rubber, and make it fit, but where's your low pressure line? Listed on Amazon as a discharge hose for a 95 Jeep. Again, be careful. I did great on Amazon with other stuff. Got me a fan shroud from Amazon, cheapest I could find. I forget what I paid for that. It wasn't much, man. It was like, 1 second, bud, I'm filming. Man, I can't remember what I paid for it. I'll list it in the description of this video whenever I edit this. I'll throw a little note in there, but it was a fraction of what the factory one. Factory one was like $100 for this fan shroud, and I think I paid maybe 20 or 30 at most with shipping, so I'm happy about that. I'm pretty sure that's right. Needed the fan shroud, so I'm happy with that. The lines I'm not. Well, this line I am, although it feels real thin aluminum. But anyway, let's get this stuff on the vehicle. Alright, new fan shroud. Time to talk to you guys again. You saw me fighting this bracket over here. I've forgotten to bolt that piece on top of the condenser, and then you also saw that it was best to get this radiator out of the way. And the reason I didn't in the first place was that it is the rad that contains the, see the bottom tabs right here? The condenser wraps around it. Oh, you see this one better. The condenser wraps around and hooks into this first, and then it goes down into the frame through a grommet. So that's why I was putting them in together. But you saw that went way smoother. Yeah, this is the bracket that I forgot right here, and then it allowed me to move the clamp that I had here. Can you see that? A clamp that I had right here, and I was able to move that one down here near where the fan is going to be. So just kind of keep these lines together and away from that. But this new fan shroud, definitely want to get this in place. Right, pull the radiator out, put this down in there, and then we'll slide the rad back in. I think we'll get our direction right here. Does it go this way? That's the top. Could I have slid that in there with the rad in place? I don't know, but we'll do it that way. I was reading the reviews on this on Amazon, and you know, one person had damaged his rad with this shroud. So, but rookies. Who am I kidding? I've done my share of stupid things. Yeah, but you're definitely not changing these lines, the ones that I changed, without pulling everything apart. No question about it. Is this the correct shroud? Yes, it is. Yeah. That's awesome. I noticed when I was driving this thing that it would run a little bit warmer than I wanted sitting still. And a big part of that, guys, is this missing shroud. When the shroud's missing, it's not pulling the air through the radiator correctly. Fortunately, it has an electric fan too, and that electric fan was kicking on and running, I thought, a little bit more than it should have been. You know, that electric fan's supposed to be a kind of a boost fan when the air conditioning is turned on, but it also comes on with coolant temperature. So I wonder how that fast forward, fast play is going to turn out. So Steve Tenney, are you watching? This stuff right here you gave to me at Eric the Car Guy's meetup. I think it was you. This, I don't know, some kind of cool penetrating oil. I never gave it to my brother. I've been using it. This stuff's pretty sweet. Alright, so if you were changing one of these shrouds on these 95s without pulling the rad, what you'd want to do is probably take the clutch fan off. 4 bolts for the fan, and do them together, slide them down together. Otherwise you're putting way too much stress on the rad itself, or this piece. You know, this is made of plastic. You'll probably end up breaking it. I think I remember reading a review, somebody broke one. But yeah, you broke it because you forced it in there. Nope, I lied. I just pulled right out. Okay, so here's a tip for you guys. Do this. Take the top bracket off here, so about 5 or 6 screws, and that will give you some movement of your rad. That's going to be easier than taking the fan off, and that's going to be easier than, of course, pulling the rad out. Slide this back. Now you have plenty of room to slide this into place. Okay? And I'll have to put some links for Amazon where I got this. This is the cheapest one I could find, and it works perfectly. It fits perfectly. I think it was even mislabeled, if I remember right. The one that I bought, it was saying it would not fit this model, but this is the one that that I needed. And it was the reviews, reading reviews is how I found that out, and then comparing pictures on a Chrysler page. Okay, so before we finish doing this, what I want to do now is I want to pull this thing under a vacuum, and I'll show you guys how to add oil to it. So I need to look up how much oil to put in this. You're generally looking for about 1 to 2 ounces of oil with a compressor change. If you change the condenser, it's about the same thing, maybe 1 to 2 ounces for the condenser. Change the evap core, 1 to 2 ounces. Change some of the major lines, about an ounce. What you need to remember about air conditioning systems is the system doesn't have an oil sump. It just sits in all of the components. So when you get new compressors, here's a warning to you guys with a new compressor. A lot of the new compressors will come with a full system charge of oil in it. So it may have 6 or 7 ounces of oil inside of it. The old compressor said 135 cc's. Now I don't know my conversions there on cc's to ounces, but that was system charge of oil. And so what people fail to realize when they bolt the new compressor on is you're putting in way too much oil. There's already oil in the system. What you'd want to do is take the old compressor off, turn it upside down, and you saw me do that in that one part. I had it upside down and I was shaking it. There was no oil coming out. What you'd want to do is take the old one, turn it upside down, and measure what comes out of it, and then that's the amount that you put back into the system. If you were just doing a compressor change for, say, a faulty clutch, you would not need to add all of that oil. You'd want to dump it out, get rid of it. The only time you want a full system charge of oil is when you're changing every component on the car. Evap core, condenser, lines, dryer, a compressor. Then you take that full charge of oil. Another warning, you bolt that on there with all of that oil in it, not thinking about it, charge your system, turn your air on, you will lock this clutch up. It'll hydrolock the compressor from all of that oil. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to take the front face of the compressor and turn it, 10, 15 times maybe in both directions. Push that oil out and into the line would be the way to do that. I've had vehicles come in, when I used to work for Pet Boys, I had this one, it was on its 3rd compressor. And it was at a different Pet Boys before it came to me. And what I found when I did my troubleshooting, it was a failed compressor. And so I had to, do the orifice tube and the dryer and the compressor again. But what I found is, as soon as I pulled the line off, all this oil started running out. So I knew what happened. What the technicians at Pet Boys, the other ones that were working on the car, they kept putting compressors in with full system charges of oil. So it's on its 3rd one now. So it's got original system oil, the first replacement compressor, the second replacement compressor. It's got 3 times the amount of oil in the system than it should. They give me another compressor. What do you know? It's full of oil too. What did I do? Dumped it all out. I took the lines, the suction discharge lines off the back of the compressor, took an air line and blew air into the system to blow all of the oil out. I had an oil patch about the size of the vehicle on the floor underneath. And you know how much oil I put in it when I was done? 0. None. No oil. And the reason for that, there was so much oil through that whole system still that there was plenty of lubricant. I did not need to put any more in. Blowing out all of that oil was the fix. That vehicle never came back. So be careful with refrigerant oil. So what did we do? I didn't change the dryer. Yes, I had a leak. It was up top. Refrigerant carries the oil. Most of that oil is still in this system. We have oil in the condenser. We have oil in the evap. We have oil in some of the lines. There is no oil in the compressor. I'm thinking maybe 2 to 3 ounces at most I'm going to put in this system. I'll look it up here in a minute and we'll figure out what our well, I can do the conversion. 135 cc's, I just told you that. Let's see, let's do that real quick. Google search. You guys don't know how good we have it nowadays. There was no Google search when I used to do this stuff full time. So 135 cc's, 2 ounces. So total system capacity for this. Again, where am I getting that number? I'm getting that number on the back of this old compressor. It says 135 cc's. So total system capacity. 4.5 ounces of oil is all this system takes when it is completely empty. So I'll tell you what, guys, I'm putting 2 ounces in this and that's it. Okay? The oil that I bought, I got this from Advance. It is a PAG 100, and that number is the viscosity of the oil, and the 100 is just a conversion. Again, I did a Google search on what type of oil, because it says on the compressor, it says oil SP-20. Let's see if we have any designations of SP-20 on here. I couldn't really find a conversion for that. So maybe you guys can correct me on that. But what I did to use this oil, again, I just went online and did some searches, and the 95 to, there's a year range, it said PAG 100, so that's where I got this from. And this is 8 ounces, although it does say with ice performance enhancer. So I'm not sure what that is. I do know that if there's moisture in the system, that we can have ice accumulations inside and it can cause some issues. So apparently they're doing something with that. It says lubricant enhancer, enhanced chemistry to help extend compressor life and improve cooling capacity. Yeah, I'm oh, it has 7 ounces of PAG 100 polyalkylene glycol PAG, and 1 ounce of ice 32 lubricant enhancer. I really didn't want that, but that was all they had, so anyway, I'm using it. 2 ounces is what we're going to use. Now I know what you guys are thinking, well, how are you going to get the oil in the system now? That's the cool thing about a vacuum pump. We can pull it in through the gauge set. I'll show you how to do that. So let me go grab my gauges and get you a better shot of what I'm doing here and hook everything up, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'll show you the hookups first. It's pretty basic, so just connecting the gauges back up. When you're evacuating a system, this is called evacuating. When you do, which is pulling a vacuum. So we're pulling a vacuum on the system. When you do that, it does not matter which side you do it from. I'm going to connect both gauges because I can. And this is actually the first part of your leak check when you're done doing a repair, is to turn everything on or connect everything up and pull a vacuum on the system and see if it will go into a vacuum. This center red hose, now I know what this extra fitting is for. See, it's got a check valve on the end that needs to be depressed, and no, that's not going to depress that valve. I need to make sure that it will pull a vacuum. See, I don't know if, I'll try it. Well, let's hook it up and see if we have vacuum coming out of here. My neighbor has the loudest routing mower, and he's got the tiniest yard. He's like 5 houses up the street. Alright, anyway. Inside of this, see, it looks to me like there's nothing that will depress this straighter on the end. Maybe that whole assembly, it might actually get depressed by threading it on there. Just not familiar with the design of the valve internal. That's what that fitting is for. Depending on whatever vacuum pump that you'd be using, or whatever you're connecting to, it's different thread pitch. So that's what this fitting is for. We'll close that up. Use the top one. And then we'll turn it on. Let's see if we have vacuum coming out of the other end. I should. Yep. Cool. Alright, so what we want to do is open up the low. You can open up the high too, it doesn't matter. And what I want to see first, guys, I want to see this go down to very near 30 inches of mercury. About 24 right now. And that'll quiet down once we get all the air out of this system. What this is doing, guys, is we're pulling a vacuum on the system, and so what we do is we lower the boiling point of water. And I can't remember my numbers. Here, let me check with the Google. I want to make sure I'm right in the numbers I'm giving you. 30, let's do 29. I forget what a perfect vacuum is. It's like 30 point something. You can't get a perfect vacuum here on Earth. One of you guys probably would know better than me. I'll show this to you. I'm not a whiz at science type stuff. But here's a chart to give you an idea. At 0 inches of vacuum, atmospheric pressure, 212 degrees. We all know that. Well, we deal with Fahrenheit here in the US, so sorry, I got a global audience. But when we pull under a vacuum, so you see the numbers here too. When we go down to, see, I don't know what I'll get to exactly. My vacuum gauge is not going to read that small of decimals. But if we get down to, look, 29.88 for example, water will boil at 1 degree Fahrenheit. For you guys that do not know our Fahrenheit scale, 32 degrees would be the freezing point of water in Fahrenheit. And just to give you an idea then, so 29.88 would be 1. 29.9 would be minus 12. So water will actually boil, right? Let's just call it 0 degrees. That's what we're doing. When we evacuate a system, we are causing the water vapors in the system to boil off and pulling it out and through the vacuum pump. So that's why you evacuate a system. And when you read these systems, what we should do is we should pull this under a vacuum for at least a half an hour. But here's what we want to do before we go and start that number. What we want to do is we want to close off our valve. So right now I'm sitting just a hair below 30. All right, sorry about the glare. But what I'm going to do, you guys watch that green area to the left on my low pressure gauge, this vacuum. It's just below 30. What I'm going to do is close my valves. This is going to isolate my system from this pump. Right now, here, I'll even shut the pump off. Just so you guys know that I'm not pulling on this. And what we want to do when we do AC repairs, our first check is a vacuum decay test. Now some of the automated machines will go through a 5-minute vacuum decay. So we'll do the same thing. We'll time this at 5 minutes, starting the timer now. And honestly, what I will generally do when I'm working, I'll just look at the gauge. I want to make sure that I don't see any vacuum decay. And it looks like we're good. All right, so 5 minutes is the pretty much standard for the automatic machines. For us, we're just looking at the gauge, making sure we're not seeing immediate drops, and I'm good with that. All right, so we need to get oil in the system, and let me talk about it first, and then we'll figure out which direction we're going to take. What I can do is a couple different ways. Being that there's a vacuum in the system already, I can take, let's see, which way do I want to do it? What I'll probably do, turn the pump on, I'll open my low side, leave my high side closed, and then I'll take my high side line off right here, and I'll put it into a container that has about 2 ounces of oil in it. And so what we'll do is we'll suck the oil out, we'll put it into the high side line. It doesn't matter which side you put it in. Okay, it's going into the system. We'll rotate the compressor too, like I'd mentioned, but we'll be able to pull that in, and then, or should I put it in the low side? Yeah, I'll do it in the low side, because then we'll put the refrigerant in the low side, and then we'll blow any of the oil that's in that line into the system. Yeah, we'll do the low side. All right, so I want to show you that, but before we go any further, shoot, I wanted to show you guys the compressor test where I put air in the system, and I told you guys I was going to do that, and then we'll watch our gauges, but I'm not ready to do that because I have all my coolant lines off, and I have to put the rad back together first. So what to do? I mean, we're taking a chance. You know, I'm just going to have to show you this on a different one, because I really wanted to pull this under a vacuum while I'm working. The compressor test. Nope, I got to show it to you, because I don't want to waste my refrigerant. This compressor I got from where? I got this compressor from a junkyard, and I don't know if it's going to work. And so what I don't want to do is I don't want to put refrigerant in here. I don't have a way to recover it here at home. If I had a recovery machine, that'd be different. I need to put this back together and show you guys the air check. And so if I'm doing that, I'm wasting my time with the vacuum pump right now. Does that make sense? So I'm going to put air back in the system and all of that, and we'll do the oil later. Let's stop here. I'm going to shut this off. I'll put this back together, put coolant in it, get my hoses back on, tighten my belt up, and then I'll put air back in this system and show you guys that test. Cicadas. I know they're cicadas. I don't know why I call them locusts. Tell you what, guys, a quick pause there. I know you guys. You guys are going to give me all kinds of crap for using this adjustable wrench. I know. I was just lazy. I didn't feel like going to get my wrenches. I actually do have wrenches, okay? So don't get on me about not having them. In fact, these were long handled. Who makes these? S&K, I believe. S&K. I have had these wrenches for, man, 20 plus years. Never had an issue with them. S&K, they make some good tools, man. I gotta get a new battery hold down. Hey, sexy.
Wait till you find out I brought you lunch. You just got even better looking, didn't you?
Yep, on camera too. Although this is fast forward mode, no sound. Not sure you'll even be seen there. That's gonna look really funny in fast forward mode. Alright guys, you know what's cool? That vacuum gauge never moved the whole time I was putting everything back together. So that's a good thing. Pretty sure we have no leaks anywhere in the system. So what I'm going to do now, show you guys what I did before. This time it should hold air pressure. We'll take this, those are closed, we'll take this one off. And we're going to go air pressure in our system, because I want to show you guys this compressor test. Okay? Get as much in this thing as I can. That's 70. I want to try to get 100 in this. 80 should be enough. I've never done it with that low a pressure. Anytime I've ever done this test, I've always had about 150, 125 to 150 pounds of pressure in these systems. I'll give it one more go with the little compressor. I don't want to be here all day. As far as the compressor goes, let's talk about that for a second while we're waiting. I used that compressor from the junkyard with that one broken finger. That's a release mechanism, so the worst case scenario is I get a little bit of rubbing out of this compressor. It's going to be better than the one I had, and for now it only cost me $10 for the compressor, so yeah, if I have to get another one I will, or I won't. Honestly, I spent way more than I wanted to on this air conditioning system, but I did it for you guys. I wanted to finish this video. Well, I did it for me too, but more so for the video. I gotta tell you, if I was not filming, I probably would not have done anything with this air conditioning system on this Jeep. That's it, man. That's all we're gonna get. It's about 92 pounds per square inch. I hear just a little bit of rubbing on that clutch. Okay, guys. Moment of truth is what these gauges do when I turn this compressor on. You ready? Turning the clutch on. Nothing. Why? I'll tell you why. I forgot to plug the compressor in. Alright, hold on. I'll be right back. Dumbass. Okay. Let's try that again. Watch the high side, watch the low side. Can't really see that high side gauge too well. Let's see what it goes up to. Ready? Do that one more time because I couldn't see the numbers. 30 and about 175, almost 200. Cool. I'm good with that. There's some numbers we used to use. I forget what it was. Maybe a 4-to-1 ratio, 4-to-1 at least. So we were like 30, let's say 30 and 200. I might be off on that. It was a little bit under 200. And so do the math, and then you can figure out like your compression ratio. I don't know how valid that test is, but I maybe would have liked to have seen that high side gauge go a little bit higher. But again, I'm used to using 150 pounds of air pressure, not 90. So variables to that. But the main point, low side went real low and high side jumped up. That compressor's okay. Something else, it's more when you're doing this kind of work in the field, it's more than the compressor being okay that you're worried about. That test also told us electrically that everything's going to be fine. Imagine doing a big job like I just did and not knowing, or when you're done having a compressor that doesn't turn on, and then it's electrically malfunctioning, so you have no power going to the clutch. And depending on the system, it can be an evap temp sensor fault, it could be a high pressure sensor fault or switch, or low pressure, or a cutout switch. It could be the climate control panel. There's all kinds of problems you can have, and those are things you want to know before you sell a job. So in an ideal world, the car comes in and it has a leak. You find the leak with air pressure. You put air in the system, you fire the compressor up, you watch your gauges go low on the low side, high on the high side, electrically good. Now fix the car or write up the repair order for the leak. And then you know when you're done, everything's going to be fine. And so that's why we used to do it that way when I worked at Pep Boys. We didn't want any surprises. Let my air pressure out now. That is not refrigerant pressure. Anybody that tuned in late, that is air pressure. Just releasing that to the atmosphere, and now what we'll do is we'll pull this under a vacuum, and I'll show you how to get oil in the system, and then we'll recharge it and we'll be done.